Okay, how about adjusting or enhancing the color of an overall image? Well, here what I've done inside Photoshop is I went and opened up retouch2.jpg. Go ahead and do the same there. I'm going to head back to the Enhance menu here at the top, and you might want to try out some of these auto commands that I had pointed out earlier. For example, we could try auto levels. I simply choose the command, and then Photoshop goes to work and enhances my image just like that. Now, what's great here is I'm going to go and hit undo up on my options bar. That's the before, and then I'll hit redo. There's my after, and you can see that there's quite a big difference. This version of my photo is much more interesting to look at because it's more contrasty. The darks are darker, the lights are lighter, right? But what I'm going to do though is I'm going to undo to go back to the original image though. I'm going to head back to Enhance, and as I say, you might want to try a few others here, like for example, auto color correction. Go ahead and give that guy a try. You might get a better result. You might get a worse result. Who knows? And then I'll undo that. There's a couple of other commands that I want to show you here. I'll head back to Enhance and then back down to Adjust Color. And then let's try Adjust Hue Saturation. That brings me into the hue saturation dialog box. And once again, I have a hue slider, a saturation slider, and a lightness slider. You're sensing a theme here, I'll bet. So maybe I'll increase my hue just a little bit inside my image. It's always tough to see your original image in the background. You have to do a little bit of moving around here. Maybe I'll crank up my saturation just to kind of give me more in terms of the color intensity. Maybe I'll drop down my lightness just to make my image just a little bit darker, something like this. Now, if you can't see anything happening inside your image in the background there, just make sure that preview is turned on down at the bottom of your hue saturation dialog box. Now, you know what I'm going to do though is I'm going to cancel out of this. I wanted to show you the hue saturation real quick, but there's a couple other things I want to show you here. I'm just going to cancel out of that. Back to Enhance, and then we have some other options here as well. We have Adjust Lighting. So I'll head into Adjust Lighting. We have Shadows/Highlights, Brightness/Contrast, and then a command called Levels. Now, Levels is a little bit more advanced, but I'm going to bounce it off you here anyway. I'm going to go ahead and choose it, and I wind up inside this dialog box here. Now, without dumping too much on you, this little graph here is what's referred to as a histogram, and a histogram simply graphs out or visually indicates the amount of light inside our image. So right now I have no pixels down in my dark areas. Down on the left, that's your shadows there. Over on the right, that's my highlights. So I have more highlights here than I have shadows. So what I can do is I can grab this black arrow, this black slider, drag him into the histogram, and the further I drag him into the histogram, the darker my image gets, right? So maybe around there somewhere would be just fine. And then I can drop my white slider into the histogram even further, and that's the same as increasing my contrast. So what I did here is I made my blacks darker or my shadows darker. I made my highlights or my whites brighter. So that's really the idea here. And of course you can continually mess around. You might want to come in here and adjust your midtones. That's your gray slider there. So maybe to give my image a little bit more visual interest, I'll wind up around here somewhere. And then of course when you're done, go ahead and click on OK. That's really all there is to it, to messing around with your levels, at least in a fundamental way. Now underneath the Enhance menu, there's lots of other commands. Unfortunately, we don't have enough time to get into them all, but there's Unsharp Mask, which is a great command for sharpening your image. And of course, there's Convert to Black and White if you want to create some black and white photography as well. But that's kind of again, sort of a fundamental stab anyway at some of your basic color correction tools here inside Elements.